just thank you on this morning, oh God. God, we take this opportunity, oh God, to tell you we appreciate you, oh God, for being such an awesome God, a worthy God, a mighty God. You are a healing God. You are yet a faithful God to us. Even when I'm wrong, oh God, you're still yet faithful. And God, we say thank you on today. God, we just thank you for allowing us, oh God, to open up our eyes, oh God. Not only to do that, oh God, but we were able to put our clothes on and eat some breakfast on this morning. We were able to get in the car, oh God, and we are now here in this place of worship. God, we say thank you. Oh God, our allergies may have us down, the pollen may be beating us down, but God, you still yet get the glory. God, you still yet get the praise. You may be aching in our body, oh God, but you're still yet worthy. Oh God, we may have our mind boggled up with different things, but you're still yet worthy of our praise, oh God. God, we just thank you, oh God, coming to this house like never before. Oh God, if there's anything that's not like you, that's going to be a hindrance of your praise going forth, oh God, we ask you to move it out the way. We want you to be glorified, oh God, from the pulpit to the door, oh God. Let every man, every woman, oh God, lift their voices in worship on today. Oh God, we just thank you. Now, God, we ask you, God, to touch here and everywhere. Touch the leadership of this house. Touch the sick, oh God, in the hospital and those who may be home. Oh God, those who are not yet here, God, God, give them traveling mercies over the dangerous highway. God, now we need you at the hospitals, oh God. We need you at the nursing homes, oh God. We need you at the jailhouse and the youth detention centers. God, we know that you're able to transform minds, oh God. We know that you're able to touch the mind of your people, oh God. Oh God, give everybody, not in just this house, oh God, but in every house of worship, oh God, release, oh God, in this place, oh God. Release your healing, oh God. Release your restoration, oh God. Release, oh God, in the building. We just thank you, oh God, for what you're going to do for us, what you've already done and what you're doing right now. God, we don't take this opportunity for granted. We give you the praise, oh God. We give you the glory and we give you the honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and thank God. Now put your hands together.
At this time, we're going to have our response reading by Sister Jeanette Morgan. And after that, we'll have our congregation hymn by very own Pastor Cook. Say amen if they come in that order.
Amen.
Good morning.
Good
morning. Our responsive reading comes from Proverbs 3:1-3, 5 and 6. I leader you to church. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. Church.
For the length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee.
Let not mercy, truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thine heart. Church.
Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding.
Altogether.
In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Amen.
Come on, put your hands together. Come on, let's put your hands together this morning. Let's bless the Lord.
Nobody great. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah.
It's good to be in the house of the Lord. Forgive me because I'm a little short of breath this morning, but God is good. Nobody is greater than He.
That's right.
We just finished singing how great God is. So He's going to help me through this. Amen. On behalf of Pastor Rodney Cook and myself, Salika Cook, I welcome you to Cornerstone Christian Ministries. I welcome back our members because it would not be the same without you.
Yes.
Amen?
Amen.
Also, I want to just acknowledge that our little MJ is in the house. He's been out sick, and it's so good to see him. Yeah. And as always, when our church mother comes, it's always good to see her. We know that she has a lot of health struggles herself, and when she comes in, it's just a blessing to see her in the house of the Lord. Also, we want to welcome our online audience. You have many, many choices, but we're glad that you tuned into Cornerstone this morning and fellowship with us. And anytime you're in our neighborhood, please come by and visit with us. We would love to see you. And before I take my seat, we're going to welcome each other like we always do. In Cornerstone fashion, we're going to greet each other, and we're going to sing, "The Jesus in me loves the Jesus in you." Amen? Amen.
Yeah.
you need him to do for you. Anything like me, you found yourself in situations sometimes, mother. You didn't know how you were going to get out of that situation. You didn't know how the Lord was going to work it out. And some of us been in situations where we said, even, I don't know if the Lord could work this out. Sickness in our bodies. Oh, no money in our bank account. But God. But God. Yeah, I grew up in church and I remember them saying, Mother, about that unexpected check. And even as a kid, I used to, whatever, unexpected check. How does that work? You knew that check was coming until it happened to me. And then I didn't have to live off of somebody else's testimony. I knew what it felt like to not know
That's right.
where the next dime was coming from, but you opened the mailbox and somebody said you paid a little too much on this bill, or you got a rebate on this, or something, and you had your money. God worked it out. He is able. I thank the Lord for being here this morning. As I was walking up, I could hear the praises of the Lord going up. Nobody greater. My Lord. I just stood there for a second and just soaked it up. Hey, nobody greater. The Lord is good. I have an assignment, Mother, which is why I'm trying to pull it back in, First Lady, because I got an assignment here. But I can praise the Lord today. You know, I don't mind. And the kids tell me it was like hand clapping, stomping, tongue talking, Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ, just in case they didn't know. It's just in case they didn't know. The Holy Ghost is real. Hallelujah. But this morning, I don't have to present to us our esteemed pastor. I don't have to introduce him to you. You know him to be an anointed pastor and anointed leader. He is anointed, he and his wife, to lead, to mentor, to build. Because I know, and I've got a testimony of what they have meant in my life. And if they have meant even half as much to me as they've meant to you, then you know I'm telling the truth. Learned man of God, and one that I can simply say is a true friend. Every man, especially you, if you are a leader, you don't just follow anybody. That's right. And I've been in church a long time and seen a lot of leaders and seen a lot of things, but I am comfortable and I believe led to hear the advice and the instructions and even the leadership of our great pastor, Rodney Cook. And so Pastor Cook is coming to give us what God has given him to say to us today. And I pray that God would prepare your hearts and your minds for a word. I pray that God would let these seeds fall on good ground and take root so that we might be like the tree planted by the rivers of water. And so if you would, in deference to the office of pastor, but in respect to just an amazing man of God, if you could stand to your feet. And what I would like for us to do is to put our hands together and hoop and clap, and even if you want to stomp a little bit, raise your hands a little bit. That makes preaching easy. That makes preaching easy. Come on. And let's receive our pastor as he brings us the word of God. Pastor Rodney.
For that warm introduction. I know that I'm breaking protocol here just a little bit. Shamanic selection has already been sung, but my testimony this morning will be Indian song.
Amen.
There is a name I love to hear. I love to say its word. It sounds like music in my ear. The sweetest name on earth. Help me on. Singing, oh, how I love on in. Lord. From the book of Genesis. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yeah, he's that good. From the book of Genesis. Genesis, the 7th chapter. Genesis 7, verse 1, and then verses 4 through 7. Once again, Genesis 7, verse 1, and then verses 4 through 7. When you get there, say amen. And the Lord said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark. For thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Down verse 4. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters was upon the earth. And our final verse, verse 7. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with him into the ark, because of the waters of the flood. The word of the Lord is eternally blessed. You may have your seats. This morning, for just a few brief moments, I'd like to share with you from this subject. Don't delay. Come into the ark. Don't delay. Come into the ark.
Preach, Pastor.
Now, I happened to see the results of a nationwide survey done a few years ago. And it was a survey that engaged a broad number of people from every area of the country, people from all walks of life, differing cultural groups from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And they surveyed the upper class, the middle class, and the poor. They questioned those who were Christian, Muslim, Jews, and all the differing religious traditions, and even including those who identified as atheists and agnostic as well. And the crux of this particular survey focused on people sharing what they felt to be their areas of weakness, the areas in which they considered themselves to have shortcomings. And the way that the survey was set up, they were asked to put a check mark beside the categories that identified where they felt they could improve. Needless to say, the list of the possibilities were varied and many. But one of the things that caught my attention immediately was the fact that an overwhelming majority put a check mark in this same area. Over 90% of the people surveyed put a check beside the category identified as procrastination. Yeah, procrastination. So many people shared that in common. It was their self-admitted weakness. See, procrastination, you know, that tendency of delaying that which needs to be done immediately. That tendency to put things off that shouldn't be put off. Yes. Can I get a witness? Yes. The overwhelming majority put a check in this box beside procrastination. In reality, this applies to many people, not just those who were surveyed, but to a great many of us. Amen, somebody. Amen. Many of us have been guilty of procrastinating. There is this tendency for many, if not all of us, to delay things that we know ought to be done sooner. Yes, that's right. Unfortunately, it's usually much later than we conclude. Oh, if I had just done it sooner. See, procrastination brings us to a point of sorrow or at least regret. Is anybody in here besides me that has regretted doing something that you should have done sooner? Yeah. Now I gotta say that this doesn't just apply to the secular world. It happens in this spiritual realm as well. We can delay even those things that have a spiritual relevance and importance. Amen, somebody. Amen. See, because one of the enemy's objectives is to get us to put off stuff that ought to be important to us. You see, he is both shrewd and crafty. Yes. He won't usually be so abrasive as to come to us and tell us directly not to do some things, because he knows that would tip his hand with a lot of us. You know, he knows that some things are so obviously right and proper that he would not dare come out and tell us not to do them, but he comes through the back door instead. Yes, he does. He tells us, well, yeah, that's the right thing to do. It's a good thing to do. You should do that. But you don't have to do it today. See how shrewd he is? Yeah, do that tomorrow. You know your plate is already full. You just do it tomorrow. Now, you and I know that his real goal is to have us to never do it. Right. But he tries to throw us off by getting us to focus on today. He says, no. Don't do it today. You're busy. And then tomorrow he'll come up with the same program. When we engage in procrastination, we can discover sometimes that days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months, and months turn into years, and we find out even years later, we still haven't done that thing that we should have done that day. That's right. Are y'all gonna pray with me this morning? Yeah. That can bring us to a place of both sorrow and regret. I heard a song once that says, don't put off for tomorrow what you should do today, for tomorrow might be too late. The writer goes on to say, tomorrow's sun may shine on your grave. Tomorrow might be too late. See, there's some things that are so urgent, some things that are so important that they require us to address them today. When you know what is right, you ought to act on it with haste. And the best way to do that, to do what is right, is to know what's contained in this book right here. See, don't be slowful when it comes to doing those things that God expects us to do. Do it today. One of the things that, for example, I personally try not to fall short of is telling my wife that I love her.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I say it without a special occasion.
Yes, sir.
And I say it often, baby, I love you. Now, it's not because I've done something. No, I haven't done anything, but I just want her to know that I appreciate her for being the woman and the wife that she is. Amen. Let all the sisters say amen.
Amen.
I make it a point to do that because if, heaven forbid, the Lord calls her home before me, I don't want to have to march in the church crying and sobbing with regret about what I should have said, about what I should have done while she could still hear it. I feel like preaching today. I get so sick and tired of folks fighting to get on the funeral program, to have a few remarks when they haven't said or done anything while the deceased person was living. They want to talk for 20 minutes to a casket when they had every opportunity to say those things while the person was alive. Pray with me, somebody. Give me my flowers while I can smell them. You know what the old folks taught us. So many times when we are slothful about doing the things that we know we ought to do, we wind up living in regret.
Yes, yes.
Well, I'm convinced that that was the case with many who lived in Noah's day. Now, the record tells us about this man called Noah. We learn about the time in which he lived because Scripture tells us about a time where wickedness had become rampant in the earth. It was a time when the hearts and minds of humankind were filled with wickedness continually. It was a time when the hearts of humankind had waxed cold. So many had no use for God or the things of God. So many of them had turned away from a holy walk and the holy standards that God had set for them. So the Bible tells us that the times were so wicked that God decided that God had had enough. That brings me to the first thing that I want you to leave with this morning. And that is unrestrained wickedness brings the fury and the wrath of God. I'll say it again. Unrestrained wickedness brings the fury and the wrath of God. In other words, when your wickedness is so great that it busts out of the fence, when your wickedness comes out of the box, when your wickedness becomes so horrible that it is literally unrestrained, it will bring upon you the fury and the wrath of God. Oh, I feel somebody praying. Now let me tell you this. God is a good God.
Yes, he is.
Without question, God is good. But there comes a time when God is just not going to take anymore regarding us. There comes a time when God will no longer restrain God's self. There comes a time when God unleashes God's wrath and fury upon the wicked. I think I ought to tell you that in this particular part of Scripture, God was so angry that he concluded that he would destroy all of humankind. In other words, wipe them off the face of the earth completely. Well, the record tells us of something else that I want you to think of as noteworthy. And that is, in every age, no matter how wicked the people are, God has a remnant.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
In every age, no matter how wicked people are, God has a remnant.
Yes.
There will always be a remnant that's going to be faithful to him.
Yes.
No matter how wicked the masses may be, God has somebody who's still on God's side.
That's right.
Doesn't matter how much they put children in cages. No matter how much they restrict our educational opportunity. No matter how much they try to take away your health care. God still has a remnant who are going to stand up and say, for God I live, and for God I'll die. Even in that day, even in Noah's day of gross unrighteousness, God still had a remnant. The Bible tells us about it in the chapter before, chapter 6, verses 8 and 9. It says that Noah found grace in the eyes of God. It was a wicked generation, but Noah found grace in the eyes of God. And verse 9 says that God spoke to Noah and he gave him some instructions. But it also tells us some things about Noah himself. The Bible said that Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. I said that there was always a remnant. Yeah, no matter how ungodly the majority may be, you and I can still be numbered with those who walk with God. Somebody ought to walk with him. I've said this to many, many young folk, and I'll say it again today. I don't care how many of your peers and your contemporaries embrace outlandish ways, fashions, and habits. You got to remember, you belong to God. Yeah. I don't know what kind of homes and backgrounds some of these other folk come from, but I know the kind you come from. No matter who walks around with their pants hanging down, you pull your pants up. Amen. There's some things that you wear that are not supposed to be on public display. Somebody ought to pray with me right here. Yeah, we got to tell our young men, we don't want to see your underwear. That's why it's called underwear. I'm trying to help somebody today. And all the people of God said, pull your pants up. Look like you belong to God. No matter what the majority are doing, you ought to dare to be different because you belong to God. Now, I realize that takes some courage. You won't dare to be different if you're afraid to hold up a standard. You won't dare to be different if you don't have the guts and the intestinal fortitude to have a commitment. No. It's an easier path to just go along with the crowd. Even when the crowd steers you in the wrong direction. There's some folk locked up in prison today simply because they didn't know who to follow. They didn't know how to stand up and have a commitment for themselves. Yeah. If I could talk to them right now, I would say, how's that working out for you? Yeah. Somebody's got to be concerned. Somebody's got to love our young people enough to tell them the truth. Because in every age, God's going to have a remnant.
That's true.
I don't believe somebody said, well, there are generations that seem to be lost. God still has a remnant. Let me move on. The record tells us something else. The third thing it says to us is that God never sends his wrath without providing his people a way of escape.
That's right.
All right.
God never sends his wrath without providing his people a way of escape. You see, before God pours out God's wrath on us, he provides us with an alternative. See, he provided Noah a way of escape in Noah's day. He provided a way of deliverance. He provided a way out. And hear me when I say wise people take advantage of the way out. Wise people don't look at a way of escape and turn away from it. Wise people see the value of the way of escape and they take full advantage of it. So the Bible tells us that Noah did just that. In that 6th chapter, in verses 13 and 14, we find God saying to Noah, he says, I just want to warn you, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And look, Noah, I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to destroy them and the entire earth. So he says, but Noah, here's what I want you to do, because I want you and your family to survive this. He says here, Noah, I want you to go make yourself an ark of gopher wood. I want you to make rooms in the ark and pitch it within, seal it on the inside and seal it on the outside. In other words, Noah, the ark is going to be your way of escape. Amen, somebody. Let me tell you this, beloved. Now, I don't mean to be a prophet of gloom and doom, but I think I ought to tell you the truth.
That's right, Pastor.
Amen.
The wrath of God will soon be poured out in ways that we've never experienced before.
Yes.
It will soon be poured out in ways that we cannot imagine. But God, even in this day, has provided us a way out.
Yes. Amen.
God provided us a way out just like he did with Noah. In Noah, the way of escape was the ark. In our day, it's Jesus the Christ.
Yes.
Jesus and his church. Yes, I said Jesus and his church.
Yes.
See, folk can't tell me that, well, I'm in Jesus Christ, but I don't have any use or regard for the church. Say amen if you can.
Amen.
If you're truly in Christ, you will be in his church. I hear some folks say, yeah, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, but I'm just not a part of anybody's church. I can be saved without the church, and I say lies and garbage. Yeah, if your heart is truly right with God, you're going to be a part of somebody's church. Well, here's the scripture for you. Forsaking not the assembling of yourselves together. I think that's still in there. Don't come up here talking about you're all of that with Jesus and you got no part and no use for his church. Oh, I'm rough in here today.
All right. You're talking good.
Yes.
In the days of Noah, the way of escape was the ark. But in our day, the way of escape is Jesus and his church. And I'm happy to tell you, I don't mind testifying that I'm in Jesus and I am in his church.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah. But you know what? Those few times that I'm not in church, any Sunday that I've ever missed being in church somewhere, and there have only been a handful in 20 years, I wondered what blessing God had for me that I missed out on because I wasn't there. One of those things that make you go, Yeah, maybe just that one thing that I needed that would change my situation was poured out in that service and I wasn't there. That means that there was a blessing I could have had that I missed. You see, some folk have the wrong concept of why they attend church.
Yes.
Yeah. See, church isn't for the pastor to see you there. No. Church is not just for you to serve on your post.
Yes.
Church really isn't just for fellowship. All those things are good.
Yes.
But your primary reason should be, I'm coming to meet the Lord.
Yes.
I'm coming to fellowship with God. I'm coming to hear from God. I'm coming to be in the presence of God.
Yes.
Preach, Cook.
That's right.
I think I will. You should be coming here to commandments of the Lord.
Yes.
The way of escape in Noah's day was the ark. But let me just share one more point to this message. And that is, coming into the ark is a matter of choice and obedience.
Yeah.
Coming into the ark is a matter of choice and obedience. You see, even though the ark had been built, even though it had been made ready, coming into that ark was still a matter of choice and obedience for the people.
Yes.
It was there because Noah built it. The ark was prepared, but going in was a matter of somebody deciding, I need to go in there.
Yes.
See, you got to have an obedient heart and spirit to make your way into the ark. You got to have a mind to make the right choice. That same ark that Noah and Noah's family went in could have been available to other folks as well.
That's right.
Had they had
That's right.
the heart, the obedience, and made a choice to do it. Yeah, but they didn't go in. And they didn't go in because they failed to make the right choice. Don't let bad choices and disobedience keep you out of the place that God would have you to be. Don't let bad choices and disobedience keep you out of the will of God. You see, don't let things keep you outside of the ark. And let me add to that. Being close to the ark wasn't sufficient. Near the ark, around the ark, wasn't satisfactory. You can't just be close to the will of God. You can't just be around the will of God. You can't just say, I know the will of God. Somebody say you gotta be in, you gotta be in, you gotta be in. See, if they would be spared from destruction, it was necessary for them to be inside of the ark. Well, now it takes me to the part of scripture that I read and I got happy when I read it. In verse 1, God says, listen to this. God said, come thou and all thy house into the ark. Now I got happy when I heard that, but see, you can't appreciate why I got happy unless you understand the difference between the phrase go in and come in. Oh God, y'all missed it. God didn't say to Noah, go into the ark, but rather God said, come in. Come thou and all thy house into the ark, because you see, for God to say, come in. Oh, bless his name. Bless his name. God was saying to them, I'm already here. And I want you to come in to where I am. Come on in. Come on in to be with me. Come on in to my presence. Yeah, come, Noah. Bring all your family. Bring all of them so they can fellowship with me too. You see, coming into the ark, coming into the presence of God ought to be a family affair. Somebody ought to say amen right there. Don't just be satisfied with just you being in the ark, but do your best to prevail upon your family, your loved ones, your friends, all of those folk you're connected to. Prevail upon them to come in. You see, because destruction is surely on the way, the only safe place for you to be is inside of the ark. I'm talking about the ark of safety. I'm talking about the ark of God. I'm talking about inside the arms of God. that some 120 years Noah preached. Yes, he did. Yes. Noah went around every neighborhood. Noah went through all of the community. And every day, Noah preached the same sermon. It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. 120 years of preaching the same message. It's gonna rain. 120 years. Every day he preached the same message. I don't believe that I can get away with preaching the same message twice a month. But Noah tried his best to prevail with the people about the importance of making preparation. But my Bible says that the people paid him no mind. In fact, some theologians suggest that while Noah was going around preaching that same message, yes, some of them even made fun of Noah while he was building the ark. See, you gotta understand that in those days, it had never rained before. So they had no concept of what rain was. Listen, saints, there's going to be some stuff coming that we might have no concept of. But on that day, there's not going to be an excuse for our disobedience. I didn't know, Lord, but he's going to say you should have known. I put it in my word. I put it there for you to get. I put it where you could read it. I put it where you could hear it. I put it where you could watch it. I put you where somebody can talk to you about it. Oh, bless his name. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Well, in other words, we still have to obey God if we're going to be saved. But the record said they paid Noah no mind. They kept on doing their thing. They kept on engaging in unrighteous activity. Yes, they did. Well, I hate to tell you, but the same thing is happening right now. Folk are going on about their way, have no idea or have no interest in the fact that one day the Lord is coming. One day we're going to be called into account. That one day all the excuses are going to be put away. Oh, bless his name. Yes, the record tells us that just before God would send the rain, he speaks to Noah and he says, come, you and your family, come on in to the ark. Come on in to the ark of safety. Now, when Noah and his family went in with all of the animals, the word says two of every kind, they went in and God did something. God did something noteworthy. Yes, God shut the door. Yes, he did. I didn't say that Noah shut the door, but God Almighty shut the door. Do you know the implication of God shutting the door? See, when God shuts the door, no devil in hell can open it. When God shuts the door, it's shut forever. The Bible preacher. Well, now on the inside, and somebody said, all of a sudden, the rain began to fall. Can I tell the story? Yes, Lord. The waters began to rise, and they rose, and they rose. The people ran to the ark, trying to get in. Then you see them hanging on the door. Then you see them in their desperation. But God has shut the door. I just want to tell somebody, get in before the door is shut. Because there's a day coming, yes, Lord, it won't be long before God shuts the door. Yes, Lord. And the word is that only those on the inside were saved. Yes, Lord. Only those who had the comfort of the ark were saved that day. Yes. In spite of the flood, in spite of the destruction, Noah and all his family were spared because they were on the inside. Yes, Lord. I heard a song in my boyhood that reminds me of this story. The song says, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain. You better get ready, bear this in mind. God showed Noah the rainbow sign. It won't be water, but fire next time. Somebody ought to get in before the door gets shut. Oh, bless his name. I'm so glad. I said, I'm so glad. So glad. So glad that if the Lord comes today, I'm safe because I'm in the ark. I'm safe because I'm in his arms. I'm safe because I'm in his will. Yes, Lord. That'll leave you here. Is there anybody here? Anybody here this morning? You don't have to wonder. You don't have to worry. You don't have a doubt in your mind that you know that come what may. I'm safe because I'm in the ark. Yes, Lord. In the ark, safe. Outside the ark, lost. Lost because they didn't listen. Lost because they made the wrong choice. It's going to be a dreadful day for some folk. Yes, Lord. There won't be any entrances. There won't be a back door. There won't be a window. They can't even come into the room. It's my sanctified imagination. I can already hear their screams. I can hear their moans. I can hear them pleading. Lord, let me in. Let me in, Jesus. Give me another chance. I showed up, decked out in my best clothes. I showed up with my big Bible in my hand. I showed up. I paid plenty of tithes. I gave plenty of offerings. God, let me in. Let me in. God says, you might have done all of that, but you didn't give me your heart. Yes, you worship me with your lips, but your heart is far from me. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. I can hear him still pleading. Lord, I'm sorry that I didn't heed the preacher. I'm sorry that I was soulful. I'm sorry. Lord, help me. Help me, please. But it's going to be too late. Those are going to hear those offerings. Depart from me, ye workers of iniquity. I never knew you because you never got to know me. You could have come and called on me. I was in the ark. Those that came in, I said, come in. I was in the ark, but you chose to stay on the outside. Oh, bless his name. But you're on the outside because you procrastinated. You could have come in, but you put it off. You procrastinated. You didn't act before it was too late. Now it's too late. You didn't choose me, and by not choosing me, you chose the separation from me forever and ever. Oh, bless his name. I came here today to tell somebody, maybe you put it off long enough. Maybe you played with your chances long enough. Maybe you left opportunities go by. Turn your nose up. Had so many opportunities to get into the ark. But I stopped by to tell somebody it's not too late. You got another chance. It's not too late. You can give him your heart. It's not too late. You can be in his will. Yes, Lord. Don't pass it by. Today might be your last chance. Might be your last. Tomorrow it's not promised. I just come by to tell somebody, wait no longer. Come on in. Come on in to the ark of safety. Come on in. Come on in. Time is winding up. Don't put it off. Come on in. There's protection in the ark. Come on in. There's joy in the ark. Come on in. There's provision in the ark. Get in a hurry. Put some pep in your step. Some glide in your stride. Come on in. Come on in the ark. Come on. Everything you need is in the ark. Everything you want is in the ark. The fullness of joy in the ark. Jesus in the ark. Yes. Yes. Whatever you need, God's got it. Whatever you want, God's got it. But it's in the ark. It's in the ark. It's in the ark. Don't delay. Don't delay. Don't put it off. Make sure. Make your election sure. Do what he's telling your heart. Make sure you're covered. The scripture I read said the Lord told Noah to pitch it within, seal it on the inside, pitch it without, seal it on the outside. Because once you get in, the destructive waters can't harm you. Ain't no danger in the ark. Ain't no harm in the ark. Somebody say, I'm covered. I'm covered. The ark covered me. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Come on, somebody ought to bless him. Somebody ought to give him glory. Hallelujah.